Hello and welcome to another edition of Ephlux Insights. My name is Babar Khan. I'm the entrepreneur resident for this program. We're very lucky to have Terence Donnelly with us here today. He is the CMO of DMC Partners in Canada, and it is
MDC Partners.
sorry, MDC Partners
Yeah.
in Canada is the largest marketing services company and the seventh largest in the world. They have 14,000 of the most creative, talented, and award-winning colleagues in the industry, and the most award-winning agency partners in the world, with a network of over 70 companies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Their partners include companies such as 6 Degrees, Anomaly, Attention, Boom Marketing. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Bruce Mao Design, Brian Mills, Rad Deso, Capital C, and many, many more that you can see on the website. The objective of this interview is sort of to find out what Terence is up to. He's both Director of Business Development for the agency. If you can call it an agency, I'd rather call it a business transformation organization. He's Business Development Director, Business Development for them, and also the CMO. So, Terence, first of all, thanks for taking out the time to do this interview. And secondly, could you just tell us what exactly you do as both sales, business development director, and CMO, and how you go about each role, sort of what the objectives are that are put on you, and how you go about completing those objectives.
Sure. Well, thanks for letting me join you today. Delighted to chat with you. And it's really, the role is really quite simple in terms of what it is that we're here to do. In the simplest terms, our mandate is to grow the agencies that we've invested in. So there's about 70 or so agencies in our portfolio covering literally every facet of marketing and communications, ranging from media buying and planning to creative advertising to branding, environment design, digital marketing, CRM, customer care. We own call centers, we own shopper marketing agencies, event and sponsorship marketing, motorsport marketing, and activation, field marketing, merchandising, right across the board. So the mandate, essentially the success of our business at MDC is 100% tied to the success of the agencies that we've invested in. So as the CMO, my role is to help them grow. If you think of the CEOs of those agencies as the custodians of their individual agency brands, and then my role over top of that is to look holistically at those brands and try to figure out strategies to help them grow above and beyond what their own plans were, by bringing the agencies together in collaborative solutions and in ways that help create more compelling solutions for our clients. In this day and age, a marketer's role has become increasingly complex. If you think back 50 years ago, we could do an ad for television, supplement it with some radio, put some ads in newspapers and magazines, and your job was done. So the agency's role was actually quite simple. It was all about developing that positioning and strategy for the brand, and then coming up with compelling creative for essentially 4 simple different forms of media. Now you have an incredibly complex array of technologies, and just the media landscape has completely diverged into this increasingly complex and ever more automated and programmatic platform of technologies that make it extremely difficult for marketers to understand and to be able to ensure that they're getting absolutely the best capabilities in every one of these disciplines. The term, omni-channel marketing keeps arising. I personally hate the term, but it is what it is, where marketers have to essentially deliver a cohesive experience for consumers at any touch point that the consumer chooses to connect with that marketer. So it could be mobile or social or Twitter or in digital out of home or interactive kiosks or in-store radio, different from broadcast radio. So all of these touch points have to somehow come together with a value proposition for the consumer that aligns with that brand and what experience they're trying to create. So it's one of the reasons why we have some 70 agencies in our portfolio, is because of the complexity that now exists in the marketing world. So my role is actually to try to connect the dots across those agencies and help uncover opportunities for growth for our business with clients that work with more than one agency or could possibly work. So the cross-sell and upsell of our services to those clients. The key with most agencies is they tend to believe that they can do it all and that they are the key single partner for that client, and that's almost never true. Most agencies are good at one or two things, but they're not good at everything. And most clients have myriad partners that they work with. They don't just work with one agency, they work with multiple agencies. So they'll have a social media agency and a CRM agency and an e-commerce agency and an activation and event marketing agency, et cetera, et cetera. So our goal is to realize that there's huge opportunities to be had when those agencies aren't competing with each other, but they're collaborating. And that's one of the things that is unique about us, is we can bring those best-in-class agencies together in unique collaborations that help solve clients' problems in a far more compelling way, that truly drive remarkable and extraordinary business results for our clients. So that's the mandate. It's simple. Grow our business by helping our agencies grow, but it's also complex in that it goes across these various disciplines of the agencies in our portfolio and trying to uncover opportunities for collaboration and integration.
All right, so you mentioned earlier that you have, along with acquiring agencies, you've also built agencies from the ground up. Could you share some of the aspects that you along the journey have learned in terms of what it takes for an agency to? I mean, it's considered to be quite saturated market. If you go to a typical investor right now and you tell them, I want to invest in creating an advertising, branding, communication, design, you name it, across the A to Z agency, the first question is that what makes you different? And if you don't have an answer for that, pretty much there's no way you're going to get that investment. How do you guys justify building an agency from scratch in such a saturated market? Without any customers? I mean, it's all flat. You have a network of customers that you can tap into, but if you're going to start something from scratch and you go to that customer and say, this particular agency under our group, it has no clients, so why don't you give it some business? How does that work out? Or do you outsource it initially to that agency and then sort of build up the rapport? How does that work out?
Well, we believe first and foremost in talent. The only barrier to entry for launching a new agency is having a willing client. So if you have a good idea and you found a client who's willing to pay you to execute that idea, boom, you're an agency, right? That's all you need, and you yourself have experienced that. And so you don't need investors to start an agency. We tend to only invest in agencies where we believe there's an opportunity for truly extraordinary results, and that there's a truly extraordinary team that's leading that particular organization. And so whether we invest in an agency or whether we've actually launched one from scratch, they were always built around having a visionary founder who was at the core of the agency's raison d'etre. We believe that extraordinary talent will generate extraordinary results, and it's one of the core differentiators that we have is identifying and finding those remarkable marketing visionaries and creative visionaries and actually keeping them. So when we invest in these companies and when we buy these different agencies, we actually keep the founders with us for actually a very long time. In some cases, it's a couple of decades, where companies we invested in 25 years ago, and the founder is actually still working with that agency today. And so there's a very, very different track record, I think, than any of the other major holding companies would have, where most of them, they put you on an earn-out, they buy the company, and a year later or 2 years later, you're gone. And they can't wait to get you out of there because chances are you're an entrepreneur and you're not very manageable anyways, right? So they prefer to have accountants running the agencies, right? And that's what happens with most of these agencies. You end up seeing accountants running them. Nothing against accountants. We have lots of them, and they're great professionals. But typically, if you're hiring an agency for its creative horsepower, you want to see the creative leader who's really driving the vision for the work that they produce. So those are the key criteria for us. Is having leaders and visionaries that are driving those agencies that we can that we believe in and that we will invest in and that we will ensure that they can really exceed even their own aspirations for what their agency's success criteria would look like.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the huge groups, let's leave them unnamed, when they do acquire smaller agencies, they prefer to perhaps not immediately, but slowly and gradually weed out the founders so that they can either retain control or whatever else. That does often backfire. The founder often goes on to start another agency, and the point that you raised about, at the end of the day, your talent and the people you bring in, they're the ones who deliver, regardless of how much brand equity the agency has from day one or not. But that's what we would call an outlier. I'm not sure how often it is the case, but I do believe it would be an outlier situation where only the most exceptional talent can bring people in. So just out of curiosity, of the 70 agencies, were there any not so successful stories in that space? And just to sort of move beyond that part of the question, in the website points out that you pride yourselves as a partner company, not a parent company. Mm-hmm. And it is, like you're mentioning, accountants and things like that. Even with a company such as yours, there is this concept where people want to have immediate ROI, and you are at the end of the day a company. Agencies much larger or probably within your own same competing space follow that mandate where they say, we will have CFO-oriented supervision in terms of getting results first and seeing what the impact, the meaningful impact for the client was later. But you're doing the opposite model. So the second part of that same question would be could you tell us how MDC as a company got to that point where they decided, we're not going to do that old way, we're going to do this new way, or was it always that way? So.
No, it's actually always been that way. There's this viewpoint that our founder has that he himself is one of those unmanageable entrepreneurs. So he's somebody who's driven, who has a vision, and who believed that if he surrounded himself with people that were like himself, he could get truly extraordinary results. And so the outcome, and I think our business results speaks for itself. Just because we are an agency that values creative and breakthrough ideas doesn't mean that we aren't extremely well disciplined from a financial perspective. And I think that our financial results also speak for themselves. So when you look at our profitability and our growth trajectory and our sales results as a public company, I think they speak for themselves. So we don't believe, however, that acquiring an agency because they are led by a truly extraordinary creative visionary, and then the minute the buyout is done, which is 2 years or 3 years, terminating that visionary because an accountant is a better person to lead the company, is the best strategy. And certainly it isn't the strategy that we take, and we don't believe it's the right thing, because clients want to work with those renegades, with those unique outliers, as you said. That's who founded the agency. That's who the client is going to gravitate towards, and that's who we believe is going to generate really amazing results if you give them the necessary financial and business operational support to help them scale to the full capacity of their potential. And so that's what we've seen with the various agencies that we've invested in, the Crispin Porter Boguskis and Donnelly and 72 and Sunny and Donor and KBS, that have had truly amazing track records, both creatively as well as financially. because we're marrying the financial discipline and rigor that we bring to helping them manage and grow their business without losing the creative brilliance and insightful thinking that caused the agency to be founded in the first place. So to us, it's not a choice of financial rigor versus creative brilliance. It's both, and that's really, I think, what both our clients and our shareholders get when they choose to partner with us.
All right. So you don't have. Well, I do get a really good feel for the organization. Again, I cannot call it an agency. It's too big to call it an agency. But
we call it a portfolio.
we call it a portfolio.
Yeah. We're not a network, and we're not a holding company because we're a proactive partner with our agencies in helping them grow, whereas people tend to view holding companies as very passive financial organizations. So we're a partner company, and we're a proactive partner with our agencies, and we look at our roster of agencies as a portfolio of amazing resources.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've covered sort of the overview and the background of the sort of space that you're working in and MDC's values. What I want to get into now is the trend towards where brands in developed nations especially have to work on customer experience and having that being fluid. Last year at Oracle Open World, it was mentioned that the role of the CMO and the CTO would now merge, and the lines would be absolutely blurred, where you wouldn't understand if a project was technology oriented or marketing oriented. That technology's budget would be a huge part of marketing's budget, and vice versa. And the teams need to be working together as opposed to you do your job, I'm doing my job. Hopefully your infrastructure holds up when my marketing campaign comes in, and hopefully your marketing campaign is enough to sustain our technology initiatives. Now they work together. Now you must integrate. Digital was a component that came into play a few years ago and came to play in a huge way from an ROI perspective only recently. So could you tell us about, for example, like we had talked about how agencies have become a saturated market, but we do also understand, in being professionals, we do also understand that this model, that advertising model, this brand strategy consultation model, various other models that we've seen over the years, it will possibly have a lifetime of its own. Like we have product life cycle, we have a business model life cycle. So to counter something along these lines, Boston Consulting Group has come up with an agency, or again, we cannot call it an agency, call it whatever you would like to. They've come up with a subdivision, let's call it a subdivision, called BCG Digital Ventures. And what they want to do is invest in technology today that will impact the company 5 years from now. So they go to clients saying, here's something for 2019, and let's start building it today. Let's start building the technology for today, some sort of integrator, some sort of middleware, some sort of technology that allows them to tap into consumers and cut out various middlemen, for example. There is a trend in the Middle East where the ice cream businesses that used to stock their products in their fridges and in the deep freezers of various retailers are now directly selling via e-commerce to their customers, which never happened before, which was unheard of before. But you have these out-of-home boxes, tubs, being sent to people's homes, and now it's a new concept that perhaps I can eat within an outlet of that brand, or perhaps it can be sent to me. So they're cutting out middlemen. I want to know what kind of work is either or all, hopefully, of the MDC Partners agencies doing to sort of capitalize on this emerging trend of having customer experiences having augmented all the time, and what are you guys investing into, without giving away anything proprietary or anything confidential, what are you guys investing into to sort of stay ahead when that time comes, where perhaps your agency model, various types of agency models, might become, not deteriorating, but might slowly die out or possibly become irrelevant?
That's a great question. I think first off, we're probably the most digital of any of the major global marketing communication companies. Probably 65% plus of our revenues are from digital marketing. And that comes from the fact that the vast majority of the agencies that we've invested in were founded post-2000. So they were actually founded in the digital era. And the founders of the companies that we have in our portfolio are digital DNA marketers. So it's for the most part, it's often not a separate business unit inside of the agencies, but it's a fully integrated part of what it is that they do. So we're by and large a digital first organization, regardless of the other disciplines that follow, whether it's advertising or PR, which are very different environments. But most of the agencies that we have a digital competency integrated into everything that they do. The second thing is that we've always been, I believe, at the leading edge of technology and adoption of technology, even to the extent that we actually have a venture capital group in one of our agencies that actually incubates and invests in marketing technologies that they develop in-house, and they spin out as separate companies when they see that it has an opportunity beyond their own capabilities and that of their clients. So we've had probably a dozen companies come out of our venture capital group, KBS Ventures, and actually Forbes magazine ranked KBS as one of the top 100 corporate venture capital companies in the world, based on the importance of the companies that have come out of their portfolio of investments. The agencies that we have across the board have innovation capabilities in-house. They're innovating in terms of integrating leading edge technologies into what it is that they're doing, and they're also innovating in the business models that they employ. So whether it's an organization like Kenna, which provides a fully hosted suite of technology platforms to enable marketers to take advantage of technology without having to build a huge infrastructure in-house, or a company like Union that's completely reinvented the creative brief and doesn't even use them anymore. They actually use activity briefs as a way of figuring out exactly what they need to do for a client to try to drive utility into every one of the solutions that they're building for their clients. So there's a pretty vast array of technologies that we've been able to take advantage of, that we've actually invested in as a company, and that we utilize that is changing the way that we go to market with our clients. So I think all of those are representative of the kind of work that we do, and I think it also shows up in the awards that we win. Certainly one of my favorites of the last couple of years was an award that was won by Crispin Porter Bogusky for the work they did for Just Dance 3, which was a video game. And the client approached them, Activision, to launch this video game, and they decided to come up with a mobile app that they called Auto Dance. So you could download this app, put it on your phone, and take a video of something, and anything. So I could take a video of you walking down the street, and what the app would do is it would actually splice the video and synchronize it with music from the Just Dance video game. And it was so entertaining that there were some 7 to 8 million downloads, 33 million videos uploaded, and 180 million people who viewed those videos prior to the Christmas shopping season last year, which resulted in Just Dance 3 being the #1 video game of that particular shopping segment, and with next to no media investment.
You just got the PR on your own. It's completely...
Right, so and not a TV ad, completely brilliant implementation and execution of what the experience of the Just Dance video game was all about. And it broadened their audience beyond, the traditional purchasers of that game were teenage girls. All of a sudden you had transformed it into a family game that entire families were now purchasing and using, beyond the original category, which far exceeded what the client's expectations were. So, those are the kinds of things that we tend to look at as examples of how we're leveraging leading edge technology to be able to build really compelling and amazing solutions for clients. And it's not to say that television and Super Bowl ads aren't a great investment, because they can be for the right client, but there's all kinds of other ways now that you can engage consumers, and we try to take advantage of all of them.
And that's actually great. It's good to know that you guys are investing in the future. I want to know, you have talked about building agencies from scratch and acquiring agencies. These acquisitions and these development from scratch could have been these technologies. but have you ever acquired any agencies that have that were not so much agencies, that were more technology-oriented businesses that were creating something that would make the agency's life much easier? And if so, could you name some of them? And also, when you say technology, are you talking about things like just applications, like the social web mobile applications, or is it also enterprise-oriented solutions that I generally have little to no experience in the enterprise side, but basically support the infrastructure of an organization. So, for example, things like Adobe Marketing Cloud. Obviously, that's an enormous organization that cannot be acquired, but something along those lines.
Well, I think a good example of the latter, what we would consider to be an enterprise level solution is actually Veric Media Management. So Veric is our programmatic media buying and planning platform, which also enables real-time bidding. And so it's a business that was founded out of our KBS group as an idea from one of the executives there. It's now doing a significant amount of revenue, well into the 8 figures amount of revenue, and it's only 2 years old, or 2.5 years old. So there's, I think, a good example of something that really works as an enterprise level solution for media buying and planning, but it's a technology suite that we developed from scratch. At the startup level, there's companies like Blue Carrot that we've invested in. Blue Carrot has a patented technology for social shopping. So it allows you to share items in your shopping cart on an e-commerce site with either your social network, could be your Facebook friends, or it can actually allow you to share that item with other customers who've also bought that product, if they've opted in to be part of the Blue Carrot network. So when you look at the power of that and having, yes, I own that product, it's awesome, it looks great on, I always get compliments at parties I go to or whatever it is, or having your friends to be able to tell you, hey, yeah, you should buy that, that's fantastic, or no, you shouldn't. It helps consumers have a better experience, and it fulfills something that happens in real life anyways, because when we're shopping, we often turn to the person next to us and say, hey, what do you think about this? I noticed you were buying the same thing, you like that? So it's the virtual replication of that current human experience that we have as social beings. And there's, I think, just 2 examples, but there's others that certainly that fit the mold. Kenna, as an example, is a very major agency that we acquired a significant interest in about 3 years ago, and they've built complete marketing automation platforms. They currently actually have 19 major platforms they run in 6 major buckets, from customer lifetime value to channel management, sales enablement, business intelligence, performance improvement, lead incubation and lead nurturing, lead management solutions, and customer acquisition. So when you look at those big buckets, they've built completely automated platforms, and they're a technology agnostic company. But what they do is they take these various technologies and integrate them with their own intellectual property to create really amazing solutions that generate truly remarkable results for their clients, usually resulting in spending, I like to say that the old saying of a chief marketing officer was, I know half my marketing budget is a waste, I just don't know which half. The guys at Kenna actually found out which half you were wasting and allowed you to either just save that money or put it to use getting the results you're looking for. So it's they've been able to be extraordinarily efficient in the application of marketing dollars. So I think our portfolio has all kinds of examples of that. Even products that we've invented that have gone on to become major consumer products in the marketplace that we invented and developed and incubated and then branded and launched on behalf of a particular client. So
I really like the example about sharing a product before buying it or even after buying it.
Yeah.
Social currency is huge in the Middle Eastern region. People love the idea of sharing something as they're buying it and getting the likes and the comments and the shares, and then the encouragement that you should buy it, because at the end of the day, what you're wearing is the projection of your personal brand. If your people are already approving of that item, especially in clothing, I don't see it happen too often in food, but I see it happen quite often in fashion and anything attire oriented.
Absolutely. But,
And you're talking about, sorry, you're talking about that it was an application that allowed you to do this, or was it something within the store?
It's a patented platform that we've actually
Right.
built for e-commerce.
Okay.
It allows you to literally take items, put them in your shopping cart, and then when they're in your shopping cart, ask your network or ask other customers of that company what they think of that product. And so it's at a critical moment where the customer is making a decision: do I abandon the shopping cart and leave, or do I press, purchase and complete the sale? And so a very, very compelling piece of technology that.
Okay. All right. I was a bit confused on that. So this is happening online.
Online.
The purchase is happening online, and the sharing is obviously happening online. I was under the impression that we were talking about offline experiences. Someone walks into a store.
This is right in the shopping cart that's happening online.
All right. Okay. There are a couple of solutions for the offline side as well. That's what I was referring to. In Middle East, it's usually there's some sort of augmented reality mirror that's showing you what the jeans or the shirt and all that look on you, and then if you want, you can connect that. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I was under the impression.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to touch upon something that Martin Mole has said in a recent interview. Martin Mole is the director of marketing for Honda in the European region, and in a recent interview, he mentioned that creative. And this again, I've heard this more than once from the brand side. He says that creative should always be recognizable to the marketer, and if the agency has to explain it beforehand, then it's already failed at first basis. So he believes that the message must come across on the first instance. How often does this sort of happen in the United States? I'm sure the UK and the US market, huge difference. As opposed to what some people like to generalize on, the humongous difference on that front. But from the creative's perspective, how is the client perspective or patience, or what do you like to call it, in terms of how they perceive pitches, and what kind of process do you guys go through? Is it like client and agency work together to create a brand strategy, or is it like one-sided? Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Well, we actually, I wouldn't be able to elaborate on it because every one of our agencies has a different process.
All right.
It's one of the things that actually makes them unique.
All right.
So, what we try to do with what I do for our agencies is to try to understand what makes them unique and understand their unique approaches to working with clients, and to make sure that they then get matched with the right client who is looking for an agency who works that way, and where that partnership would be the right chemistry and the right fit.
Yeah.
In essence, an agency is a collection of people, and not much else. Right? There's desks and computers, but you can buy those at Best Buy, or IKEA. So it's really the fit between the people that is the most important thing, and so understanding the agency's methodology, understanding what it is that they do that makes them unique, and how they can best support and work with the client to help that client achieve the results they're looking for is a big part of what it is that we try to do. And each client and agency has their own unique approach and their own set of circumstances. I mean, you can compare Coke and Pepsi and say, well, those two products are identical, right? But they're not. Their businesses couldn't be more different. And so they have to work with different agencies that can help them solve those unique problems that they have. And so even though they both make a flavored carbonated beverage, right? Their approaches in business couldn't be more different. And I think our agencies follow in that same mold.
Yeah, you've also kept an element of do-it-yourself on the website. This is an aspect where I just played around with quite a bit, where you have the discipline, industry, and the scale in terms of what a person wants to filter out in terms of the agencies that you have, and it is quite intimidating to try to filter all of them out and see, what kind of combinations can I break the site.
Yeah,
can I see if I can mess around with it? Yeah, I wasn't able to.
Yeah, that's good. You did a job.
I played with it for about half an hour. Couldn't find a way to break it. Everything has been cleared on that. And just out of curiosity, how often do people use the website as opposed to speaking to you? in terms of getting matched to the right agency?
We do get a fair amount of people that visit our site. Obviously, the agencies do a terrific job of marketing themselves. We have a whole team of folks that do what I do. So there's about a dozen of us that are working in marketing and business development that are there to supplement and enhance the agency's growth trajectory. Our main goal is to bring them a client that they didn't have in their pipeline. Bring them something that's truly new to their business, and so it's certainly it's meant to be an enhancement to what the agencies do and to help them accelerate their growth.
All right, and you talk about acquisition of clients, and retention is their job. Acquisition is comes from the parent company. That's not really a parent; it's more of a partner.
It's incremental acquisition comes from us.
Right.
The agencies build their own reputations, and clients approach them directly, and they certainly do get their fair share of opportunities without our help. But we're there to bring that extra level of fuel to their existing fire.
And how exactly do you do that? Is that based off your own existing network, or is there some sort of strategy involved in terms of client acquisition? You get a hold of the briefs first. How exactly does that work?
All of the above.
All of the above.
We do marketing activities for our portfolio.
Yeah.
We participate in events and sponsor different things. We certainly do a lot of networking and a lot of direct outreach to clients to talk about the full array of capabilities that we have. We do direct marketing to them so that they get regular updates on the work that we're doing and the work that we hope we could do for them. And then we support the agencies through helping facilitate the procurement RFPs and those kinds of things. We have our own procurement department that works on behalf of our agencies and helps negotiate contracts that are beneficial to both client and agency. So there's a full array of support that we try to give agencies to help them grow their business.
All right. Actually, this is a question I ask pretty much everyone I speak to, at least from the agency side or someone who's worked on the agency side, because it varies between the region that you work in, and obviously the client is the customer, and they are people at the end of the day. So it's various levers or various drivers will tweak whether they go for an agency or not, or whether they go for a company or a group of people. As you say, an agency is basically a group of people. So, for example, similar interviews done with people in Europe region. It turns out that in Europe and Middle East, the main activity that an agency does, I mean, there's various activities, like you said, all of the above, but just so you understand where I'm coming from, Europe, Middle Eastern CMOs and agency directors usually say that when we promote the people in the organization as opposed to promoting our portfolio, it usually gives us big wins.
Yeah.
In Africa and South Africa regions, they usually talk about portfolio pushing. They push the portfolio as much as they can, and then they get the leads and all. Yeah. Australia has got completely different. I was just trying to get an idea from you how it works in Canada. I believe you're the first Canadian. You're still the second Canadian that we're interviewing today. So for the session, so I just wanted to get an idea from you in terms of what do you think is that magic formula, without ruining your brand, I guess. What is that magic formula that works wonders for you, that you think that this works much better than everything else combined? Maybe this is the 40% of my mark of in terms of your activities.
With us, we find it's a combination of promoting the people, as well as promoting the case studies of the work that the agencies have done. But more often than not, you won't see somebody from MDC on stage, unless we're talking about our portfolio in particular. But we try to, wherever possible, put the people and their clients on stage to get them to tell the stories that are meaningful to future clients. In the end, MDC doesn't actually have any clients at all. The agencies that we own have clients. So I should never be on stage unless all I'm doing is introducing somebody. And so letting them tell the story is always the best approach. And so we certainly try to, wherever possible, promote the people that work in our agencies, because they are remarkable individuals, but also the case studies and the work that they've done. And usually it's that combination that we find is the winning formula.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Terence. Just the final phase of the questions, and this generally comes from my membership with Marketing Society and various other societies, and even people who have written in asking for. Well, I've covered fan-oriented questions. People who said that please ask him this and that. But one thing we want to get to is what is that one aspect of brand strategy that you believe is your golden rule that you follow through when you believe that every brand, when they have a campaign, when they need to communicate in any way, various mediums, various strategy, various ways of going about getting the message across, whether it's money oriented, whether it's donation oriented, whether they just want to build awareness on a particular topic from a PSA perspective, even just a public awareness campaign. What is a golden rule that you believe brands need to follow that'll give them results in a meaningful manner?
Uh, to me, I think Chuck Porter, who's the founder of Crispin Porter Bogusky, said it best. He said, "Transparency is the new black." That transparency and authenticity is the winning formula, because consumers know anyways. And so if you recognize in this day and age that you can't pull the wool over anybody's eyes, you need to be 100% authentic and transparent, and you need to be aligned with what consumers' perceptions of your brand are, and you need to find that golden nugget of truth in the brand that allows you to stand out from any other brand in your category. But as Chuck said, transparency is the new black. That's the golden rule.
Thing is, I get what you're saying, and our majority of our audience who watches who watch the videos and read the articles online, they're CTOs. So I completely understand what you're referring to. But could you just elaborate a bit on that, and what you mean by transparency? What needs to be in a campaign that means transparent and non-transparent?
Well, you can't tell somebody something about your brand that isn't true, right?
Okay. Yeah.
If you do, people will find out. I mean, there's somebody with a camera on all the time, right? You have to be, straightforward. You have to be transparent in what your brand is and what it stands for. You can't pull the wool over people's eyes. You can't, I don't believe that you can wrap up brand messaging in something that's editorial without being transparent about it being an advertorial piece. I think the key thing is that consumers deserve and expect more, and I think that that approach has to govern everything that you do. It's I think it's critical to follow those kinds of principles.
Okay. Yeah. That's. I was under the impression we were talking about something different, but we'll talk about that aspect a little bit off the record.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's.
Babur, I've actually got to get on to my next conference call, so maybe we can wrap up quickly. And
Yeah, definitely. Just two more questions. Just in general, you talk about your founder having this ideology from day one that we are partners and not their parent company, and you've had different roles in the past. Could you tell us about what is your biggest influence in terms of what drives you to pursue the professional strategy that you apply in terms of your work?
the biggest influence, boy. Well, I think everyone has both personal and professional influences. My biggest influence is certainly on a personal level. I've got to point to my father's tenacity of never giving up and working, solidly and steadily throughout his entire professional career. And then from a professional standpoint, I think there's been a couple of folks in my career that I certainly would hold in extremely high regard. Folks that are typically entrepreneurs, people that whose work that I've admired and know that you can hold out. The Bill Gateses of the world who've done remarkable things, and certainly the Warren Buffett buy and hold strategy, which is really actually aligned with what we do, where we invest in people as the core asset and we hold on to them for as long as we can. And so those kinds of approaches, I think, are evident in how we approach our business.
All right, and final question. You have a call, so final question. Whether within your organization, done by someone else, or whether done by you. Ideally, I'd like answer on the latter. What kind of work that have you done, or what kind of what have you brought to the table that you believe has been your best business idea or best idea within your role yet so far?
Best business idea or best idea within my role?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I'm not quite sure how to answer that, but I think the kind of activities that we apply, and certainly the way that we approach marketing our agencies as a collaborative approach is probably a transformative idea. So I think that internally is probably one of the most compelling differentiators that we have in the market, is the ability to bring these best-in-class agencies with very different skill sets together into one single solution for a client. And I think that's something that no one else in the market can do the way that we can.
All right, all right. That's I think that's fair enough for in terms of an answer. Thanks, Terence, for taking out the time. I think this was a very good session. We got a lot out of you, a bit more than I guess we were expecting, but we'll definitely do a follow-up session in about a month. We do a follow-up session with all the interviewees, and we'll talk about a topic that is close to you and something that you prefer speaking about. And there are some aspects of some press releases that I wanted to touch upon, but we don't have time for that, even from the quarterly reports. So anyway, thanks for taking out the time. This has been Ephlux Insights with Terence Donnelly, CMO of MDC Partners. Sorry for saying it wrong the first time. And have a great day. Bye-bye.
Perfect. Take care.